James Petrus has made several statements regarding Zionism, consistently describing it in negative terms. He has referred to Zionism as just another capitalist tool to divide and conquer, and argues that U.S. Zionists are sticking it to America 24/7. Petrus' work heavily focuses on what he considers the Zionist power configuration, which he describes as an influential, unregulated agent of foreign power within the U.S. political system. His views have been controversial, with the Anti-Defamation League labeling him as a noted anti-Semitic, due to his statements including claims that Jews are the greatest threat to world peace and humanity.
So like a curious traveler on a quest, we embark upon a journey of information. Stay with us for a ride into knowledge.
James Petrus used to be a professor at a college in New York. He wrote 62 books that were printed in tons of languages. He also wrote over 560 papers for scientific magazines. Plus, he has written over 2,000 articles for regular newspapers and websites, like the New York Times. He even won an award for being awesome for his entire whole career. Now, in his book, Israel's Super Strength in the U.S., James Petrus talked about how much power Jewish groups have over what America does with other countries. A select group got really mad because he used ideas that sounded like stuff neo-Nazis would say, like Jews are secretly trying to control everyone. The book says that even Jewish people who want good things don't want anyone saying bad stuff about Jewish power because they like Israel and get money from Jewish groups. And during a fight about the book, Norman Finkelstein said Petrus' book was like a secret plan instead of a smart way to look at things. And Petrus said Finkelstein was ignoring how much power Jewish groups actually have. He can't see the Jewish lobby very well. Now, lots of groups are okay with criticizing the world, but they don't want to talk about the bad stuff that their own group does. James Petrus says in his book that the U.S. is in Iraq and messing with Iran because Israel kind of took over. He thinks folks working for Israel, directly or not, are now calling the shots in America. Petrus believes Zion cons and groups that like Israel, the Jewish lobby, got tons of money and control the news, bosses around Congress, and stop people from speaking freely at schools. They also mess with workers and keep folks against war from making America better. Basically, Petrus thinks Israel got so much power it twisted America to do what it wants. Petrus would have us believe that Israel calls the shots entirely in this country on everything to do whatsoever with U.S. policy in the Middle East. The tail, according to Petrus, clearly and undisputedly wags the dog. Few who have examined the question would dispute the immense lobbying power of powerful American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, and a host of other related and well-coordinated pro-Israel organizations. Many, including a large sector of Jews critical of the Zionist project, recognize the disproportionate influence of pro-Israel support within Democratic and more recently in alliance with the Christian religious right, the Republican parties, or even within organized labor. Some left critics have even taken an effort to point out the influence of Israel's bankers in the dominant media, Hollywood, the Academy, and elsewhere. There are some points of interest in the book. One part talks a lot about how the FBI supposedly found and secretly shut down a sneaky Israel spy group in the U.S. after 9/11. Fox News talked about it for a bit, but then it went away. Ignoring how much Petrus seems to like the FBI, it'd be cool to know much more, but it's like the clues vanished. The book says that the Iraq War had nothing to do with oil, and that oil companies were actually against what Bush did. And instead of talking about U.S. trying to control the area and its stuff, it says that Israel's people in the White House and the Pentagon were the reason. A big chunk of the book explains what Petrus calls the Zionist power setup in the U.S., a bunch of connected groups working at different levels that all listen to Israel's leaders. The group goes from Zionist folks in the White House and the Pentagon through a Congress that's been bought by pro-Israel Jews and all over the media and big unions. It's like a network of people from other countries who are now taking over, reaching into lawyer places and doctor hangouts and pro-Israel Jews who have a lot of power in money stuff, politics, schools, real estate, and the news. Describing the response of those presented at AIPAC conference in Washington in May of 2004. Petrus tells us that the pledge of unconditional support to Israel given by congressional leaders and the two major presidential candidates invoked the bloodthirsty cheers of investment bankers, dentists, doctors, lawyers, and the cream of American Jewish society. The book slams Seymour Hersh, a reporter saying he hid how Zion cons pushed the U.S. into war. Petrus also spends a whole chapter attacking Noam Chomsky, a guy who does speak out against foreign policy. He says Chomsky is blind when it comes to Middle East, especially the role of Jewish people and their support in the government. Petrus also goes after left-wing Jews and anti-war folks, seeing them as part of the problem. He says that peace leaders, both Jews and non-Jews, don't want to talk about Israel's war against Palestine because they don't want to upset Jewish groups and Jews who always defend Jewish stuff, even war crimes. He also thinks that Jewish critics of the war avoid criticizing powerful Zionist leaders in the government and their support from Jewish groups. He basically suggests that progressive Jews in the anti-war movement are stopping peace and good foreign policy. Now, to sum this up, James Petrus is a prominent sociologist known for his critical views on Jewish influence in politics and society. He has written extensively on the subject, particularly in his book, The Power of Israel in the United States, where he discusses the influence of the pro-Israel lobby on U.S. policy in the Middle East. Petrus argues that the lobby has a significant impact on U.S. foreign policy, often prioritizing Israel's agenda over the interest of the U.S. and its citizens. He's also said the Jews are a great threat to world peace and humanity. He's involved in discussions about the role of Jewish power in shaping U.S. policies and media. And in his work, he makes no bones about the fact that he regards the Israel lobby as a primary Jewish lobby and that its cornerstone of the Israel lobby's power is related to the creation of the power of a new, predominantly Jewish elite political class made up of financiers and entrepreneurs. So anyone who talks about Israel or Jewish people knows this. And if you say a little something about Israel or a Jewish person, people will quickly call you anti-Jewish, especially if you're really slammed how powerful Jewish politicians in America work with the Israeli lobby. And of course, lots of Jewish and pro-Israel bloggers have called Mr. Petrus all sorts of nasty names because, well, we know why. Because they really, really support Israel. Just more food for thought.
Thanks for watching this and all our videos. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until we meet again, stay curious, fellow travelers, and have a great day.